Hi friends, welcome. My name's Jess. I'm a psychotherapist and I talk a lot about estrangement, and this video is one that I've had a lot of requests for. So this is my formula to help parents who want to reconnect with children who have cut them off. And so just before I dive in, I want to say thank you to all the parents who are watching this and who are wanting to put in that commitment into trying to improve your relationship with your child. From my perspective and experience in working with estrangement, I truly believe that any genuine, heartfelt movement towards reconciliation should take you in the right direction. I do have 3 steps here to try and guide things, and they are simple, but they're not easy. So here are my guidelines to try and walk you through any confusion and avoid any missteps in what can be quite emotional and fragile situations. And if you're not a parent but watching from a child's perspective, potentially someone who's distant or estranged from or is thinking about estranging from your parents, please let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think these steps would have been helpful if you'd seen them from your parent? And I'm curious, if you're estranged from a sibling or a different family member as well, do you think these steps would help? Let me know in the comments. So let's dive into these steps then. The first step is, first of all, to acknowledge the request for no contact when it comes. I think this is incredibly important, but it can often get missed because I hear a lot of people saying, well, if my child doesn't want to speak to me, then I'm going to be breaking their wishes by contacting them to let them know that they've said that they don't want to hear from me. And yes, this is a gray area, but in general, what I'm going to say is that if someone cares enough about you, if they do that, give you that courtesy of saying, you know what, I'm going to end contact with you rather than just walking away. If someone is going to tell you that they can't continue the relationship and they need space, it's incredibly important to acknowledge that. It's not saying this is absolutely fine. It's not saying that this doesn't have huge impact on you. It's not saying that you think that their reasons for doing it are valid. It's not about any of those things. It's about saying thank you for telling me. Because when we acknowledge that request, you're doing a lot of things. You're validating their feelings around the current reality of the relationship, and this is really important. If you don't acknowledge their message, it can feel like you're brushing things aside. It can feel like you're not listening, or they may interpret it that they don't matter to you, that your child has ended the relationship isn't important to you. And if ultimately what you want to do is to reconnect with your child, they're going to need to know that you're willing to listen to their perspective and you can respect it even if you don't agree with it. Okay, so what would an acknowledgement look like? I think it's first of all important that it's written, and I would respond in the same way that the request for no contact came in. So if they sent you a letter, I would write a letter back. If they texted you, I would text back. Email, I would email back. Keep on the same line of communication that they've sent to you. And the other incredibly key message, if we get any message from this video, it's keep the acknowledgement simple. Keep it short. Keep it to a few key points. And this is kind of the type of wording that I would use. First of all, I got your message and I understand that you're having trouble with the relationship and you need to take a break. I am truly sorry that you feel this way, but I will respect your wishes. I love you, and if you feel open to talking, please let me know, as I would love to better understand your perspective on this. And that's it. We need to keep it short so it's not some kind of emotional confession or laying out how desperately hard this is for you onto your child. It's focusing on validating their perspective and not how hurt you are. That may be the case, but this isn't the moment to go into your sadness or your hurt or all those things. From my work in this space and the research, the experience of estrangement for adult children can be emotionally exhausting, and it can come, even if the parents are unaware of it, it can come after a long period of difficulty, reflection, and just a lot of emotional work. And so let's assume that your child is exhausted from all this emotional heavy lifting. You don't want to add onto their burden. So sending this acknowledgement is you saying, okay, I'm hearing you and I understand and that you need to take this space and this time, and I can kind of, maybe I don't love it, but I can get on board with that. And the other key part about the acknowledgement is leaving the door open for if they want to come back and talk. It's not about putting pressure or a timeline on them, but what it's saying is, I will always love you and you will be welcome back in my life at any time that you choose. And when that happens, I will do my best to keep my heart open and to keep the relationship safe for us both. And I'm going to come back more to that because it's easy to say, well, maybe it's not easy to say for some of us, but it's much easier to say than to do. So let's move on to step number 2. The second piece is, after you've sent that message, please work on yourself. Even when parents can't see it, adult children always say that they have a really good reason or reasons for ending a relationship with them. It's not done lightly. It's not done off the cuff. It's not a knee jerk. It's not just because they're mad of something that happened 40 years ago. It's because of ongoing deep problems that they feel haven't been addressed. And again, even if parents don't see it and don't recognize it from the adult child's perspective, they are there. So step 2 is going back and really reflecting on the relationship. Think about hard times, think about arguments, think about things that have maybe been said recently that you thought you'd worked through or resolved. Were there repeated patterns of communication, arguments that came up again and again? What can you learn now about what they was telling you about the relationship? Maybe you think you apologize for everything before, maybe you think they're overreacting. But really the problem is, if a parent continues to only look at the relationship with their child from their perspective and they don't really try and take on board what the child is saying, it's likely that the estrangement is going to stay. We can't go back and redo time, but we can be open now to seeing what went wrong. And we can be open to saying that wasn't my best moment and apologizing if we hurt somebody or when we hurt people. Acknowledging our role in it is not about forever being in someone else's debt. It's saying, yeah, I did that. Now I can see from your perspective that that could have been way harder than I even thought, and I am sorry. It's acknowledging the other person's perspective. Because if we pretend things didn't happen, all we do is let things fester and let pain carry on. So it's not always about saying this was 100% my fault, but it is about acknowledging when it is, or when we had a hand in things. What it's really about is acknowledging someone else's perspective. And if you're struggling with this, I would say go and talk to someone else. Talk to a trusted friend, talk to a relationship counselor. Talk to someone outside of the relationship, I would, rather than say a partner or someone else who's really close. You need an independent perspective. Look at the text message and saying, hey, what do you think about this? Did I miss something here? And it's just being open to understanding what other perspectives could come across, and are there other ways that someone else would say, oh, actually, you know what? I would interpret that as tricky, or that might feel hard for me. And so on to the third part, the third step in this reconciliation, which, don't hate me for this, guys, but really the third part is, I'm going to say it's the hardest, but they've all been hard so far. So let's just get on board for part 3, another hard one, which is we have to wait. Once we've sent an acknowledgement of what's happened and we are trying to work on ourselves, it's really, really important that we let the other person work through their stuff and come back to us when they're ready, not when we're ready. It can be really hard, but we can't rush this piece. And I see an area here which happens quite a lot actually, which is a parent saying, okay, this happened, it was really hard, so I went to therapy, I figured out what I did wrong, and I apologized to my child, and now they need to come back and work on their stuff because, you know, there was stuff on their side too, and I've been hurt as well. Yeah, no doubt that is true. And also it doesn't work because you're putting your needs and your timeline ahead of their needs and their timeline. And so I know that this waiting part can be heartbreaking, especially if we don't know when it's going to end. But the fact is, the brutal reality of estrangement is you don't know when it's going to end. But what I will say is that if you've done your acknowledgement letter, if you've left that door open for them to say, hey, you come back, I'd love for you to come back and please talk to me about this as and when you feel ready, then having that in your back pocket, knowing that you've done that, will hopefully set you up for a time in the future where they may have done some more work on themselves, they may have had time to reflect, things may have shifted in your child's life, but hopefully then at some point they will come back and say, okay, well, maybe we can try and talk about this a little bit more. If that happens, please allow that space to be emotionally welcoming and safe. Children, I think, are incredibly unlikely to want to break an estrangement if they think that coming back to their parent is going to open them up to some kind of punishment, some kind of reprimand, or going back into some kind of problem that they tried to avoid in the first place. So it's a big thing. It's a hard thing, especially if someone's cut us off and that's caused us a lot of pain. It's really difficult to leave that door open and say, yep, but I'm also willing to be open-hearted and generous and say that when you want to come back, I am not going to be angry and I'm not going to push that out on you. It's a really big ask for parents, but it's important to do. And here's the last piece on this. If your child, or hopefully when your child does reach out and potentially open the door to some kind of reconciliation conversation, I think it's very important to not just jump back into the relationship and then just keep going and just be so grateful that they come back that you're almost walking on eggshells and doing whatever they say because you don't want things to fall apart again in future. That's not going to work either. It's not about opening the door, leaving the red carpet open and saying, yep, you walked away, you hurt me so much, and I am willing to go through that all again. That's not what we're saying. We're saying the door is open and you are very welcome, and I want you to come back so that we can together work out what happened and we can together create a space, and we're setting ourselves up to have a mutually supportive but independently healthy relationship. I also hear parents saying, yes, but I went off and did all this work and I've changed, but what if my child doesn't know? How will they know that I've changed? Well, the answer is, I'm sorry to say this, guys, but they might not know that you've changed. But the fact is that if you've gone away and done that work, then you're going to, not that it's not going to hurt, but you're going to be okay going forwards. And that's the most important thing, because working on our resiliency, working through our pain, working on being independent but loving with the people around us, that's a balancing act, and it's hard to do, but it's also a life skill. So even if your child does or doesn't come back into the relationship, having done that work is a win for you anyway. And so we don't want to do it just for another person, we want to do it for ourselves. And then whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, working on ourselves, working through how to be good and supportive to other people and to have good relationships in our lives is just, it's an investment in ourselves and our future, and it's going to set ourselves up for success whether we're reconciled or whether we're not. Friends, thanks so much for being with me on this, and as always, whatever you're going through, estrangement is hard, so please be kind to yourself and please be as kind as you can to the folks around you. I really look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care and bye for now.